Make Me a Fan podcast.
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 Make Me a Fan podcast. Make Me a Fan podcast. Make Me a Fan podcast.
Straight from the pole holes of Hollow Earth, the hunters of the reptilians, the serial killer fanatics. This is the Make Me a Fan podcast. I'm Sean. How you guys doing? Do you like the new intro? You're not going to answer me because you might be talking to your car stereo right now or your phone, whatever. Trying to find new ways to start off this podcast so we don't get boring. We don't want to sound like that fucking dude from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But anyway, I'm joined, as always, my brother TJ. Say hi.
Hi.
You little shithead. So, we're back again. I don't know if you guys know, but TJ is really super smart. Me, I'm very super famous. TJ is very super smart because he has a master's degree in psychology, TJ?
No, just a bachelor's.
Oh, just a bachelor's. Yeah. What is that, like 12 years of school?
4. Well, I think it was 5 for me, but it was 4. Yeah, it's supposed to be 4 years.
But still, I don't have a college degree. So I'm really hoping that you can help me help people in Michigan solve this unsolved case that we're talking about today. It's a horrific cold case. Today, we are telling the story of the Oakland County Child Killer. This is an unidentified serial killer responsible for the murders of at least 2 girls and 2 boys in Oakland County, Michigan in 1976 and 1977, and potentially many more. So this is a little different than our past few episodes on serial killers and cult leaders. This is Michigan. This isn't Canada.
Well, it's close to Canada.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, half the year Michigan is basically fucking covered in snow and frozen. So it does kind of follow the theme. Oakland County is basically a suburb of Detroit, so you can kind of get an idea of where these crimes are committed. Several theories and suspects have been named in the case, but despite all the theories, the cases remain unsolved and the killer or killers have never been identified. So let's start this out like we're doing some sort of like spooky kind of tale, because this is a spooky tale. So I'm going to start this out. It was a cold winter day in Ferndale, Michigan on Sunday, February 15th, 1976. 12-year-old Mark Stebbins was leaving an American Legion Hall. He had told his mother he was going to go home to watch TV, but he was never seen alive again. His body was found on February 19th, neatly laid out, fully clothed, in a snowbank in the parking lot of an office building at 10 Mile Road in Greenfield in Southfield, Michigan. He had been strangled and sexually assaulted with an object and had suffered 2 lacerations to the back of his head. He had rope burns on his wrist, indicating he was tied up. Jill Robinson was also 12 years old when, on Wednesday, December 22nd, 1976, she packed up a backpack and ran away from home following an argument with her mother over preparing dinner. The next day, her bicycle was found behind a hobby store on Main Street. 3 days later, on the morning of December 26th, her body was found along the side of Interstate 75 near Big Beaver Road in Troy, Michigan. She was killed by a single 12-gauge shotgun blast to the face. That's a pretty graphic way to fucking die.
Yeah, definitely a deviation from the first one.
Yeah, you're not going to have a face left if you get shot in the face with a 12-gauge. So her body was also fully clothed, and she was still wearing her backpack. The body was placed within sight of the Troy police station, once again laid out neatly in the snow. Moving forward, on Sunday, January 2nd, 1977, at 3 p.m., 10-year-old Christine Mahalik was last seen purchasing a magazine at 7-Eleven on 12 Mile Road at Oakshire in Berkeley. You notice, these roads are, we got 12 Mile, what was the other mile? 10 Mile, pretty close to, 7 Mile where Eminem grew up. So once again, it kind of gives you a layout of where in Detroit these killings are happening. I don't know how old Eminem was in 77. Was he like 40 something now?
Yeah, probably.
So he probably would have been about these kids' ages, maybe.
Maybe
Eminem could have been one of the victims, and we never would have had Rap God.
He's too busy rapping in the streets.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, she buys a magazine at 7-Eleven. Within 3 hours, she had not returned home, and her mother reported her missing. There was no sight of her and no leads or info for 19 days. A mail carrier spotted her fully clothed body on the side of a rural road in Franklin Village. She had been smothered. Again, much different way of dying than a 12-gauge shotgun blast to the face. But once again, her body was laid out within view of nearby homes, eyes closed and arms folded at the chest, once again in the snow. An autopsy revealed she died less than 24 hours before her body was discovered. So basically, she was held hostage for 18 days. On Wednesday, March 16th, 1977, at about 8:30 p.m., 11-year-old Timothy King borrowed 30 cents from his older sister and left his home in Birmingham, skateboard in hand, to buy candy at a drugstore on nearby Maple Road. I don't remember. I mean, back in 1987, I would have been 6 years old. So maybe when I was 11, that would have been 1990. 1990, I don't think at 8:30 at night, I would have been going up to the store, which was like a block away from our house.
Well, not in March, too, because I'm assuming it'd be dark in March at 8:30.
Yeah, well, that's after daylight savings, but it's still going to be dark at like 6:30, 6 o'clock. And it's March in Michigan, so it's probably like fucking 20 degrees. I mean, we got snow on all the, grounds. That's where all these bodies are found in snowbanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot might have changed since 77 to 90 when I was 11 years old, but I thought that was kind of odd. Anyway, he left the store by the rear entrance, which opened up to a parking lot shared with the supermarket, and vanished. An extensive search was executed that covered the entire Detroit area. And there was widespread media coverage, already heavy with coverage on the 3 previous slayings. Timothy's father, Barry King, did a press conference where he begged the abductor to release his son unharmed. In a letter printed to the Detroit News, Marion King wrote that she hoped Timothy would be let go to come home soon so she could serve him his favorite meal, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That was everybody's favorite meal back then.
Not mine. I've never been a big fan of KFC.
Really?
Popcorn chicken, that's about the best thing they have there.
Well, yeah, that's true. You always used to get the hot wings when we were kids. I know we would have, I think it was Sundays, we'd go over to Aunt Lou's and have like all the KFC and everything.
Yeah, that was back when I could eat shit off a bone. I can't do that now. If it's got like tendons and ligaments and bones in it,
you just chew through it.
As much as I love like talking about serial killers and researching it, watching horror movies, I can't do bones. Give me boneless chicken wings, whatever. That's why I like the popcorn chicken.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we shouldn't be making so many jokes and such a horrible thing, but that's what we do. That's the Make Me a Fan podcast. You don't like it, you can stop now because we're probably only going to get worse. In the late evening hours of March 22nd, 1977, 2 teenagers in a car spotted his body in a shallow ditch alongside Gill Road, about 300 feet south of 8 Mile Road, just across the county line in Wayne County. His skateboard was placed next to his body. His clothing had been neatly pressed and washed. He had been suffocated and sexually assaulted with an object. An autopsy showed that Timothy had eaten fried chicken before he was killed, and that he had been suffocated approximately 6 hours before his body was found. Before Timothy King's body was found, a woman came forward with information about the missing boy. She told the task force that on the same night the boy went missing, she saw him talking to an older man in the parking lot behind the drugstore. She described Timothy and his skateboard. Not only had she seen Timothy, but she also got a pretty good look at the man he was talking to, as well as his car. She told the authorities that the man was driving a blue AMC Gremlin with white stripes on the side. You remember what a Gremlin looks like? I always wanted one when I was a little kid, but looking back on it, they're tiny little ugly ass fucking cars.
Is it at least is it a fast car? I mean, it had stripes on the side, so maybe.
Well, that makes cars fast,
Yeah.
right? When you put racing stripes on them.
Exactly. That's why you do it.
Yeah, you put racing stripes on them and a giant spoiler on the back, and all of a sudden it's super
spoilers.
fast. Yeah. So with her help, a police sketch artist was able to do a composite drawing of an older man and of the car he was driving. The task force developed a profile based on descriptions given by witnesses who saw Timothy talking to a man on the night he was abducted. The profile described a white male, dark complexion, aged 25 to 35, with shaggy hair and long sideburns. Not really all that surprised by that profile. I mean, on average, most serial killers are white males between 25 and 35, right, Tej?
Well, I thought that was the case.
Wait, it's not?
Not anymore. Not in 2017.
What about in 1977?
I was going to say, back then, yeah, most definitely. That would have been probably the average or most popular serial killer of that time.
What are the numbers nowadays?
All right, let me see.
Are they getting younger, older?
You mean for the serial killers?
Yeah.
Themselves? I'm not familiar with the age. All right, so back in, when was this? The 70s, right?
Yeah, 77.
So in the 70s, in the decade of 1970, it was 60.9% white males and 33.6% black males.
Okay.
But now, like the most recent, for the decade of 2010, so I guess for the last 7 years, that is almost to the point switched. The white male is now 30.8 and the black male is 59.8%.
Oh, wow.
So that they've pretty much just swapped completely over the last, 40 years or so?
Is that because more white people are just becoming cops?
That could be. Or maybe that has something to do with...
like gang violence?
Yeah. Well, because, you got to look at the definition of what technically a serial killer is. It's just you're killing either 2 or more or 3 or more individuals, and you have to have a break in between. So if you think about it, if you're in a gang, you do one, say a feud happens, you kill somebody.
Or you try doing a robbery,
Yeah.
and strong-arm robbery, you shoot the person, steal their car or
and
purse.
then the next weekend or a couple days later you do it again, then technically you're considered a serial killer.
That makes sense.
So, I mean, that definitely could lead to why the demographics have changed a little bit, I guess. And then where was the other statistic, I guess? Well, we can get to the other statistics, I guess, later on about like country, who has like the most serial killers, and then we can get into their victims and stuff later as well.
Well, the police also thought that because the person seemed to be able to gain the trust of children, they believed that the killer was possibly a police officer, doctor, or clergyman. The profile went on to describe the killer as someone who was familiar with the area and probably lived alone, probably in a remote area, since he was able to, for several days, without friends or family knowing, keep these kids in his house. About 18,000 tips came into the task force, and all of them were thoroughly investigated. Although there were other crimes that the police discovered while doing their investigations, the task force had not gotten any closer to capturing the killer. While the killings were occurring, a Dr. Bruce Danto, a local psychologist or psychiatrist, how do you say that? Psychiatrist. God damn, I'm dumb. Anyway, the psychiatrist got involved with the Oakland County Child Killer case. Danto began talking in interviews in the local newspapers about his thoughts and opinions on the killer. It is believed that the killer may have tried to establish contact with him
Try to establish contact through the dumping of the third confirmed
victim.
victim.
Yeah, I'm a fucking retard. No offense. Christine Mihalik's body had been found on the side of the road called Bruce Lane, not to be confused with Bruce Wayne Lane.
Bruce Wayne
Lane.
Wayne Lane.
A theory that the killer picked that road because Danto's name was Bruce L. Danto, L in this case being used as Lane. Danto eventually received a letter from someone claiming to be the accomplice of the killer. It is thought that possibly either an accomplice or maybe even the killer himself wrote this letter, possibly even as an attempt to toy with the police. I was going to read the letter exactly as it was written, but it's really hard to fucking get through. There are numerous spelling mistakes and punctuation errors, and sometimes it makes barely sense. barely any sense. Sometimes I barely make any sense. I'll read a little bit of it. And if you want to look it up online, go for it, Google it. But on the letter was typed this message first. Most very important, most urgent, please. And here's the part of the letter I'm going to read. Bear with me. It's going to be hard as fuck to read, and I'm not very good at reading. So, Dr. Danto, I am desperate and nearly gone crazy and haven't got no place left to turn. I am going to commit suicide if you can't help me. Please don't give up the killer to the police. You must help me as there is no one else I can't turn to. This is for real. I know who the killer is. I live with him. I am his slave. He whips me and beats me all the time, and he will kill me if he finds out that I've written this letter. I have been with him in his car when we go out looking for boys, but I swear I have never been with him when he picks up the ones he killed, but I am in it so deep. I am just as guilty to the law as he is. I stayed with them right here in our apartment during the day while he was working. That was all one sentence. I'm out of breath. He goes on to say, that makes me just as guilty, and no one can hear them as they gagged all the time. You know, he brings them in stuffed in clothes hampers. No one here knows the differences. You keep saying Oakland County, not true. He has delivery route in Oakland and Birmingham places, but we live in Detroit. You want to know people in this building? Primps and hookers and fags. You name it. Like on Gremlin, he had it sure Gremlin until Last Boy, but no one stops him in Detroit. He junked it out in Ohio to never be found ever again. I tell you what makes him do it, Vietnam. We there together, Frank and me. Oh, Frank, not his real name. I call him that here. Nam, screw up your mind too. Tell you something else. He killed lots of little kids then with medals for it. Burn them to death, bomb them with napalm is beautiful there, Doc. He wants the rich people like people in Birmingham to suffer like all of us have suffered to get nothing back for what we did for our country. He's not a monster like you think. He really loves children, especially that cute little girl for 3 weeks, not doing it because he hates children, but doing it because he hates everybody else out there, and this be his way to get even and get back at everyone. And then it goes on for like another 3 paragraph, but he ends it. Please help me. I signed Alan. So that's a crazy fucking letter.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it gives a lot of good information, I guess, about Frank, the supposed killer.
Yeah, the trucker, cops don't stop the gremlin.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
It was in Nam.
Yeah, that'll screw with you. Shortly after the letter arrived, Danto and the police replied to Alan in the local paper, leaving a coded message for him. Then Alan actually called Danto, leaving a place and time. The phone call was actually recorded. There's a transcript that you can look up. I'm not going to try reading it because a lot of it is unintelligible, a lot of long pauses and shit. But basically, he wants them to meet him at a gas station at a certain time. The gas station was called Gas Station Lounge. Danto went to it just as Alan said, with a cop dressed as a customer, undercover. The gas station, as it turned out, was a local gay bar. The place was full of young hustlers who were often picked up by older gay men. There was also gay prostitutes out behind the building. While Danto sat inside chatting with the bartender, a man with brown hair stepped off the dance floor and came up behind him and acted like he wanted to talk, but then turned away and went to the bathroom. After he came out, he stared at Danto some more, then walked over to the cop, who was undercover, and asked the cop if he'd buy him a drink. The cop just brushed the man off, thinking he was just some gay guy trying to pick him up, not realizing that it might have been Alan. The man then walked out of the bar, never to be seen again. Officially, the police state that Alan never showed up that night, but they believe he could have been, the gay guy. So in 1978, December to be exactly, the decision was made to discontinue the task force and the state police took over the investigation. I guess we should probably move forward with some of the suspects, right?
Yeah, suspects.
Yeah, suspects. Archibald, I don't know if that's how you say it.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Yeah, Archibald Edward Sloan. He was a pedophile who victimized young boys in his neighborhood. He became a person of interest when hair samples found in his 1966 Pontiac Bonneville matched hair found on the bodies of Timothy King and Mark Stevens. You know what a Bonneville looks like, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it looks a lot like a gremlin.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they're pretty similar. However, the hair samples did not match other victims, and Sloan often lent out his car to his pedophile friends. The case sparked new interest when Timothy King's father, Barry, and his brother Chris tried to get the Michigan State Police to release information about Chris Bush, the son of Harold Lee Bush, a high-level General Motors executive. Me and TJ both have worked for General Motors in the past.
Yeah.
Well, did I technically work for General Motors? Because it was Delphi.
No. And I guess I'm still I worked for General Motors Components Holdings, LLC. I never technically was even though my checks... Wait, did my checks... I can't remember if they actually said General Motors, if it was GMCH.
No.
But we were offshoots.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris Bush had been in police custody shortly before Timothy's abduction for suspected involvement in child pornography. He committed suicide in November of 1978, and bloodstained ligatures were found in his apartment, as was a hand-drawn image of a boy closely resembling Mark Stevens screaming in agony, which was found pinned to a wall in which Bush committed suicide. There had been no confirmed activity of the Oakland County Child Killer since his death. Authorities in Michigan were also, considering the fact that it could have been John Wayne Gacy. A witness to the 1977 abduction of Timothy King remembered seeing two men with King. First suspect was described as a young man in his late 20s. The second one looked a lot like Gacy. But, in 2013, they did DNA tests and they found out that it wasn't John Wayne Gacy. Police in Parma Heights, Ohio, arrested Ted Lamborghini. I'm going to say Lamborghini because it looks like Lamborghini. A retired auto worker believed to have been involved in a child porn ring in the 1970s. On March 27, 2007, investigators told Detroit TV station WXYZ that Lamborghini was considered the top suspect in the case. Lamborghini pleaded guilty to 15 sex-related counts involving young boys, rather than accept a plea bargain that would have required him to take a polygraph test on the Oakland County Child Killers. Lamborghini also rejected an offer of a reduced sentence in exchange for a polygraph on the case. So he'd rather go to jail for all these charges for, however long than just take a polygraph.
Yeah.
So if he didn't kill the kid, take a polygraph and, you get a reduced sentence. But, polygraphs are so full of shit, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah,
that
I agree.
Even if you're fucking nervous, it's going to seem like you're guilty.
Exactly.
So I guess I can kind of see, like, he's caught. You might, fuck yourself even more.
And who knows how long he was facing time-wise for those 15 sex-related counts. It could have been life anyway, so what does he care?
And it's 2007, so he might have been fucking a lot older then.
I
didn't look up his age or anything. But in October of 2007, the family of Mark Stebbins filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Lamborghini seeking $25,000. That doesn't seem like that much.
No, not at all.
Like I'm pretty sure that the family that sued OJ...
so probably millions or something.
Yeah,
right?
It was millions of dollars that they won for the wrongful death.
Well, but those people were rich though.
Oh yeah,
so maybe because they had the money, you could go for more. Whereas this Lamborghini guy probably
he was an auto worker.
Yeah,
just because his last name is Lamborghini doesn't mean he owns one,
right?
Yeah. The lawsuit alleges Lamborghini, who lived in Metro Detroit in the late 70s, abducted Mark and held him captive in a Royal Oak house for 4 days in February of 1976 for smothering him to death during a sexual assault. Lamborghini has never been formally linked nor charged in the death of Mark Stevens. Attorney David Binkley has sought compensation, including funeral costs for Stevens' brother Michael, but stressed that money is secondary. In 2005, an unidentified man who would later emerge to become a common figure in the case and has been referred to by the alias of Bob, was reminded of a relationship he had in 1977 with an acquaintance. In an interview given to Oakland County investigators in 2010, Bob informed them of typical observations and actions while driving and conversing with the acquaintance, such as taking him to buildings where satanic rituals were performed, according to the acquaintance. The acquaintance navigated through lesser-known routes associated with the case with ease. Man, I wrote acquaintance a lot. The acquaintance also spoke of details written in Allen's letter. Bob requested information about the Allen letter to help confirm his suspicions, but he was denied. In 2010, Bob gave a recorded interview to Oakland County investigators and prosecutor Jessica Cooper to present evidence pertaining to the investigation. Bob claimed to have tried to approach her with his findings and to convince her to place the case under the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice to expedite the case. The department was already involved as FBI investigators and thorough research. Man, I just got completely fucking lost. Anyway, prosecutor Cooper dismissed his suggestions and there was no evidence presented. His request to inspect the Allen letter was denied. Cooper describes the interview on the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office blog as, quote, a rambling statement outlining the theory that the Oakland County Child Killer abductions and murders were related to pagan holidays, the lunar calendar, and Wiccan rituals. So a bunch of nonsense.
Wow.
Yeah, Bob commenced to correspond with Deborah Jarvis, the mother of victim Christine Mihalik, and investigative journalists such as Bill Proctor and Heather Cataldo in 2010. He claimed that he was among a team of dozens of investigators involved in the case and could identify the perpetrator of the crimes, but refused to indicate which law enforcement division he worked for. He basically sounds like some fucking quack that just wants to get in on the case.
Yeah.
Like all these so-called psychics that,
Yeah.
call investigators. Oh, I know where the body's buried, but I need some money to do it.
Exactly.
I don't give him much clout, and I don't want to talk about him anymore. So moving forward, well, I guess we kind of have to, because according to Paul Hughes, an attorney representing Jarvis, Bob's investigation discovered the murderer. However, according to Hughes, Bob refused to identify the culprit. In 2012, Bob presented his findings to a select group of Detroit journalists on Hughes' cell phones. To preserve his anonymity, he insisted that his phone interview with Hughes not be recorded. He, talked more about pagan celebrations, lunar calendars, Wiccan human sacrifices. Said there was like 11 to 16 victims, way more than, the 4. Based on this information, Hughes attempted a lawsuit against the Oakland County authorities for $100 million, citing miscarriage of the investigation and demanding Cooper's resignation. The lawsuit alleged cover-up conspiracies and obstruction against the victims' families. Hughes' website solicited donations and offered a copy of Bob's report for the donation of $1,500. The family of the victims and Cooper claimed that Hughes and Bob's were attempting to profit off their distress. Yeah. And the case was dismissed in March of 2012 for lack of evidence. So those are the suspects. What do you think is the most likely of those suspects? Or what do you think about them?
All right, I'm just trying to find the victim or the suspects. Well, I don't know. My first, I guess, thought on this overall thing, I guess, before I go and pick who I think it is or who it could be, is that, so usually, they look at how they kill the victims and then also the victim themselves. And this goes from, young boys to young girls. There are a lot of similarities. But like the Robinson girl, like she had her face blown off with a shotgun. Like that's crazy deviation from the other 3.
And I thought it was kind of weird that he switched from girls to boys. Because usually if you're a pedophile, you just want little girls. But if you're like a gay pedophile, you just want little boys.
Yeah.
So did he just not care and he just wanted kids of any type?
That was the biggest thing I struggled with, was the way he killed them, and then like the victims themselves, I guess. And then also too, like he kept most of them the 3 of them for 6 days or less, but then one of them he kept for 19 days.
And he fed him his favorite meal right before he killed him.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like So I guess that'll lead me to maybe who I feel would be the most plausible killer. I would probably have to go with maybe the pedophile Sloan, and it's just solely based on the fact that they found hair samples in his car that matched both the bodies of King and Stevens.
Yeah, but it didn't match the other ones, right?
Yeah, well, but if you looked at the victims, the Stevens and the King were the two closest. Like, they both were sexually assaulted with objects. They both were, well, the one was 12, the other one was 11, and they're both boys. So, like, I would say that those two victims could be the same victims of one serial killer. And then, if you look at Robinson and the Mihalik, they were both girls, and they were both killed different ways. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm thinking maybe
these four aren't completely connected, even though they're found like the same way.
Well, that was the thing. They were found the same way. They were both, are all laid down neatly. Their clothes were clean. They were out in the open. So maybe basically what it could be is because it has been kind of proven, I guess, that there was an accomplice. So maybe the girls were one of them, and the boys with the other. Yeah. So and if that's the case, and with Sloan, he said he often lent his car out to pedophile friends. So maybe one of his friends was Alan, the gay guy at the bar or something.
Yeah, and he was, Frank, I think was his name.
Yeah. They called him Frank.
Yeah.
And then the other, I guess a close second could have been the Lamborghini guy, just because obviously he was convicted of multiple sex-related, child porn things, and the whole family suing him, and there's a lot of unknown information there with that. And wasn't he the one with the? Did he have the picture? No, that was the other one.
That was Sloan. Wait, who killed themselves? That was Bush. Chris Bush is the one that killed himself, and he had the
picture.
Yeah.
So I don't know
how I could draw a picture of a kid being killed, and how many dead kids will it look like?
That's true. So I don't know. I guess I'll probably have to go with Sloan as being one killer, and then obviously there's another killer, and with maybe these all are it's a big pedophile ring, and it was multiple people, and maybe just one person disposed of all the bodies. That's why all the disposals were the same. And
it was Alan, and he felt bad that the kids were dead. That's why he made sure the clothes were clean.
Yep.
They weren't going to be laying in the snow for weeks at a time or years, so he put it someplace where people could find them.
Yeah, and maybe with Robinson, because that was the first girl, the shotgun to the face, maybe the main killer got pissed and was like, why would you bring a girl here? I'm into boys, F this kid. And just.
But then he brought another girl after that, though.
Yeah, that's true. And that one was smothered, and I don't know.
Yeah, all of the other ones were smothered.
Yeah.
Except one was strangled, I think. But the same thing, basically,
one,
yeah.
So, I don't know. I'll go with Sloan and obviously somebody else.
Yeah, I have no idea. I think maybe there was, it's Detroit in the late 70s, so who knows, what kind of neighborhood this really was.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of, you go online and you could see how many, convicted pedophiles and rapists actually live around you.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how many. There's one that lives down the street of the fucking apartments by us.
I believe it.
So they all meet at like a gay bar, and they start talking like, yeah, I'm attracted to this, I'm attracted to that. You hear about that all the time. You accomplices that get together.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing about a couple serial killers that were cousins that actually decided to start raping and killing women together.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me to have some sort of like, pedophile ring.
Yeah.
When they say that, it makes a lot more sense than, the satanic panic where all these people are having, Wiccan satanic parties,
That's
killing.
Weird.
I think it's much more likely that it's just a couple of pedophiles that got their, rocks off, and, maybe the kids knew them somehow.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're just going to kill them.
Yeah.
And with a girl with a shotgun blast, who knows? Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he was threatening her with the shotgun and it accidentally went off, or she was screaming too much and he just got angry, and instead of strangling her, he just fuck this shit, blow her face off.
I thought that was weird that Alan said they lived in an apartment like in Detroit. Like the FBI or the police or whoever it was, they said that they figured it was somebody who lived like out in the country.
Isn't that Lamborghini owned that like a cabin out in the woods.
Yeah,
So that would have made sense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just because they live in an apartment doesn't mean they didn't do this shit someplace else.
That's true. And if it was a child porn ring, they could use somebody else's place or, a friend's place, whatever.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that hard to keep, a victim quiet for too long. I bet I could probably keep someone down in my basement for years with none of our neighbors hearing it.
Yeah,
as long as I don't have guests coming over.
Yeah, you see that all the time with people. Like, they've had that person down there for how long, and I never knew.
Yeah, they've had like barbecues in the backyard and shit. Meanwhile, like that fucking dude over in Germany that kept his daughter prisoner for like 25 years. Yeah, fucking, he had his entire family living above him upstairs. So, yeah, it could be any of these guys. I don't know. I'm sure someone out there does know, and I'm sure they're probably not listening to this episode.
Well, the guy that did it's probably dead. Or too old now to be able to do anything. Or he's into the whole child porn on the internet, because this is back in the 70s, back before the internet was even invented.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
and I mean, you look at Mr. Cruel, he hasn't done anything for a long time. Same with these guys.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did. Maybe they just moved on to women instead of kids. But I guess if your thing is kids, you're probably not going to move on to women.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, sponsor time.
Yeah.
After we talked about this sad, disgusting case.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're sad over this case, you should probably go do some yoga. And if you live near Franklin, Wisconsin, you can go to 9733 West St. Martin's Road. Visit the Balanced Yoga and Wellness Center. Do some yoga. Get your mind off this sick, crazy shit. Visit them online at getbalancedyoga.com. Use a promo code MMAF and get 1% off any package that you purchase. And if you want some photographs, hopefully not photographs of victims, but maybe your kids or your babies or your dogs or whatever, check out Deerwood Photography. They are the best photographers in all of, I'd say, North America. Probably. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So check them out on Facebook, Deerwood Photography. Use a promo code MakeMeAFan, and you will get a free print with any purchase that you make. And find us on the social media networks, Facebook and Instagram, Make Me a Fan Podcast. On Twitter, Make Me a Fan, and our webpage is MakeMeAFan.com. Thank you for listening. Say goodbye, Teej.
Goodbye, everybody.
You cunt.
Make Me a Fan Podcast.
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 Make me a fan podcast. Make me a fan podcast. Make me a fan podcast.
Make me a fan podcast.